Here.
Superintendent William Cope.
Here.
Dr. Anita Herring.
Here.
Dr. Michael McDonald.
Here.
Mrs. Claire Maxwell.
Here.
Judge Steve Daniel.
Here.
Mayor Joe Carr.
Here. Thank you. And let me make a point to welcome Rick Hall to the board. Congratulations on your appointment. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your participation and your insights and the wisdom that you're going to bestow upon us, Mr. Hall. We're excited about the
Be
opportunity.
ready for long meetings.
Oh my goodness. Well, we hope not, but if so, okay. Okay. If there are objections, have you had, Mr. Vice Chair, have you had a chance to review the minutes of the previous meeting?
I have, and I find no errors in them, and would move that they be approved.
We have a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes stand approved. Thank you very much. Public comment, Sandra, do we have anybody?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. Item 4, open positions. Ms. Duke, you're recognized.
So everybody has a copy in front of them, but I do have an update. We, after I sent this out this morning, we had a gentleman accept the position. So we have no male officer positions, but we do have a full-time female detention officer, 2 corporals, and also I need to change that to 2 part-time positions. Both of my education assistants have put in their intent to leave, but everybody is back from leave now, so we're pleased about that.
Excellent. Any questions for Ms. Duke? Seeing none, if there's no objection, we will approve. Data report, please, ma'am.
We might want to come back to this. I know there
Sure.
have been a couple of questions, and well,
You want to come back to it anyway, or what do you want to do? Your call.
we can go ahead with it.
Okay.
So in front of you, you have our data report. This, of course, is the county, the age of detainees, their charges, and when their court dates are. This morning when we ran this, there was 15 total young people in the facility. We had 2 from Gibson, 1 from Lauderdale County, 1 from Macon, 8 from Rutherford, 2 from Sumner, and 1 for Wilson.
That gives the committee a few minutes to look over this. If they have any questions.
Well, both Ms. Maxwell and I have questions about the last entry from Sumner County as being a qualifying charge to be detained.
And I have had an opportunity to take a good look at that. This young person was also charged with 3 a possession and 2 scheduled charges, and all 3 of those are felonies. And maintaining a dwelling for drug use is also a felony. I haven't had a chance to review the petition for the information regarding how the particular county charged a minor with maintaining a dwelling for drug use, but the 3 other charges that were not listed on our data report were also felonies. I can get back with y'all next month regarding this maintaining the dwelling charge if you would like, or I can look into it further.
I'd ask that you look into it, but it may resolve itself. It looks like you got a hearing on it today.
Yeah.
But these are unique circumstances where the detention almost has to be something that involves violence for juveniles, and of course that's the subject of really the reason we have this board, I think. But anyway, I think we need to look into it more.
Okay, let me ask I guess you're talking about Lynn and her staff looking into it.
Yeah, that's what she's
Right.
offered.
Right. So I guess my question is, I'm unfamiliar with the circumstances here that are drawing a question. Can you tell me what the nature of the inquiry that you had, Judge,
Yeah.
originally? So if you don't mind.
Statutorily and under our SOP,
Yes, sir.
you have to comply with the statutory types of crimes
Correct.
that are involved in violence and are subject to detention for juveniles.
Okay.
And my question has been, and we've had several discussions about this, is certain types of cases don't appear to meet that criteria, like this one right off the bat.
Okay.
And in particular, we are having, from our experience here, much better performance with Rutherford County. We don't have issues at Rutherford County. But these out-of-county cases, which we are holding on a contract basis, some of these charges, when they appear, don't look like they qualify, and therefore we're in the situation where we're providing the detention, which might not be proper.
That would violate a statute or SOP, is that correct?
Yes, both.
So Lynn, I thought that's what you were saying, but I wanted to make sure I understood it. So Lynn, let me ask you a question. When there is a disagreement as to a young person being held, and it does or does not violate either state law or the SOP, who's the final authority in making that determination?
When you say a disagreement, do you mean between the out-of-county?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We always are. They just
We
because
being?
Rutherford County, the Juvenile Detention Center.
Okay.
We get the court orders from out of county and are able to, the on-call administrator is able to, and now are looking at those court orders because of the last conversation we had regarding it
Right.
here at board. And comparing it to 37-1-114, I believe it is, and making sure that we're meeting those criteria in that statute. I wasn't the administrator on call when this particular child came through, but the three of us that are on call have, our reference material available to us, and I can't speak for the administrator that took that phone call, but I feel like that. And they know that if they have a question, they can call me and say, I'm on the fence with this one or whatever. I have, in the past, reached out to the county attorney, but he said his turnaround time, he doesn't mind helping answer questions, but his turnaround time is really not going to be beneficial. So if it comes down to we don't know or we don't believe that it fits, then we just don't accept the child.
Right, and I guess what I'm saying is that reasonable people can disagree. And so when reasonable people disagree, who is the ultimate authority for whether or not we detain this child or we send them back to the county from whence they came?
Well, just because a county, an out-of-county has a contract with us doesn't mean that we're required to take those kids.
Right.
So if we're not fully comfortable accepting them, then we just don't.
Okay.
And they know they have other options. I always recommend to counties that contract with us that they have contracts with multiple facilities, because there's so many different reasons why a child might not be appropriate for a bed that we have available, and they need other options.
One last question. How often does something like this occur where you kind of there's a judgment call that would be made? Not saying that this is that judgment call, but there is a judgment call that would have to be made.
It depends, honestly, on the way that the county's juvenile court orders are set up. Some of them are very easy to follow and very exact as to how it meets that TCA standard, and others you really have to read and go back and reference the TCA code. And we have a couple a week, honestly.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's not uncommon. Any other questions for Mr. Rick?
Yeah, so just the maintaining a dwelling drug use, I see where we might question that, but with the added charges she's talking about, does that meet reference of the
I really
statute?
can't tell based on just having that charge, because just drug charges are not necessarily triggers under that statute.
The classification system or tool doesn't take into account the prior history. Is it only for, so if this young
No,
person
a
had a
child-
history of violence and then these charges?
A child's previous history in juvenile court, whichever court system they come from does play into it. There are many different boxes that have to be checked. You could be charged with, you could be in a state facility and have mental health issues and misdemeanors and escape from that facility, and then that bumps you into a category where you could be considered for detainment. Just because you're eligible to be detained still doesn't mean that you will be, but there are many factors that work into whether or not that they can be detained.
Judge, to be clear, and I want to make sure I understood your comment earlier. You're saying, well, Ms. Duke was saying there were other charges in addition to this charge that may clear things up as to whether or not we could hold them. Is that in your mind? And you're asking Ms. Duke to clarify those particular...
I think she wants to do that as well.
Yeah, no, I concur. I just want to make sure I understand your request
Yes,
correctly.
yes,
Okay.
that's true.
Okay.
And this statute, I pulled the wrong book, of course, when I came up here. It's not eloquently written,
No.
quite
It is
frankly. It's subject to, you have to look at several different things. For example, if the child was on probation and violated probation, that would be a basis that they could be detained in addition to the charge. So you have to look at them, but most of the charges that are authorized for detention involve some form of violence or potential violence. And so we know the history of how we got here, and what I'm very vigilant about is trying to keep us from accidentally getting back into a similar situation.
Agreed. Ms. Duke, per the request of the Vice Chair, if you could bring us back an updated report on this particular individual and the circumstances surrounding their detention, that might be helpful.
Okay.
Especially as we go forward as to how we're going to address things like that in the future. Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Wong.
So far as intake wise with this, would it be something as easy as you added a question, does a above or below subject meet the standards of 37.1.114, and they click the box yes, and if they do, they put that action, and that takes I think that would put it back on. I think we're worried about liability here. Would that not put the action back on the arresting agency or county then?
I was hoping so, but we've had this discussion with the county attorney before, and I think the responsibility falls upon us because we're detaining them. We made this screen and agreed to it under our contract. I don't think we get out of it that way.
Would that help us?
Anything helps, but I think that
I know you
We
don't want to
still
tell
don't
other
have it.
counties how to run their agencies or their
it
things,
would,
but
it would make
help
it
us.
infinitely more easy to do this if there was a uniform affidavit or that gave rise to the information. But like the director is saying, they get all kinds of different petitions that don't necessarily follow a uniform format where you could make that evaluation. And that's our problem, I think. One of our problems.
Our original contract language was, I'm gonna say generic, like what you spoke of. The, children shall blah, blah, and, meet the requirements in. Then when the county attorney recently looked at our contract, he added a little bit of meat to that same section and just basically said, and I don't have it in front of me, but I can bring that next time, and basically said that they shall demonstrate the specific reasons why and or how it does so that, and I sent all of that out to our counties, obviously, when we redid these contracts, and because a little backstory, we also raised our daily rate at that same time. So I sent them examples of court orders that had the, I didn't want to, or nor should I say, your court order should look like this, but I just said these are some good examples of or detention or court orders that make it easy for us to know that you're doing as you should. And some of them changed their court orders because they just didn't want to fool with it, and they wanted to know that if they had all their boxes checked, that they would potentially have a good case for having a child accepted. And some of them didn't, but they added narratives to their court orders. I think that just the generic, make sure that, I don't think the county attorney, and I don't want to speak for him ever, but I think he just wanted to indicate that there needed to be a little more in some of the court orders than may have previously been given. So, Judge Daniels has been on top of, always looking at these charges and making sure that everybody's heading in the right direction.
Any other questions for Ms. Duke? Seeing none, there's no, Ms. Duke, do you have something you want to add?
Part of this young person's order today gives indication that these charges may have placed him in a position to be transferred to adult court, which, like I said, I'll bring back more information, but that just leads me to believe that this particular child's backstory did lend to the position that he was detention appropriate, since they're considering transferring him to adult court.
There must be something more that's not.
But I appreciate you looking it up, because at first blush, when I first got in here, I was like, really? Because I'm, like he is, I'm concerned, if we wouldn't charge him, does it meet the standard? And some of these other counties, they don't interpret it the same way we do. But I appreciate you looking it up for me.
Thank you, Ms. Duke. Without objection, we'll accept and move to the education. Dr. McDonald.
I have a question. Considering the slippery slope that I think we find ourselves in, is it necessary for us to take a motion on this? I mean, as far as going on record, in terms of trying to get clarification on this? I know we're going to do an internal sort of review of this, but is there anything that we need to do as far as taking a motion on it?
If you want to make a motion, you're certainly capable of doing that, and we will entertain a second.
Well, again, I just think it's a matter of just discussion. Maybe this is something we need to discuss further.
Today, because the floor is open for discussion now. Dr. McDonald, if you want to discuss it now, or what was the nature of your motion, I guess, or the proposed motion?
Well, let me just offer, I guess, a little
Sure.
clarity. I'm concerned, and I understand why we were impaneled, why we were created as a board. I think we've stayed true to our standard operating procedures. I think we tried to be due diligent as related to making sure any young people we take in internally or from outside of Rutherford County we do so with not just the letter, but the spirit of what the law requires us to do. And so, having said that, I don't know if we need to take a motion. I know we're going to do something informally in terms of looking into trying to get clarification on it, because the board need to take some kind of formal action so that it's reflected in the minutes.
So there are one of three things that we have available to us based on your comments. Number one, yes, the board can make a motion. It can be seconded and be voted on for a formal action. And it would be recorded in the minutes. Any board member, just so you know, as part of parliamentary procedure, any board member can request that this informal request be put in the minutes as a formal matter without a motion. So if you were to say, Mr. Chair, I request that this conversation requesting Ms. Duke to come back to the board be reflected in the minutes, we can do that, or we can do nothing. So those are our three options.
The second option, I think, meets my concerns.
Okay.
Something informally,
Okay.
But it's also reflected in the minutes.
Absolutely. Ms. McMahon, would you reflect in the minutes that Ms. Duke was asked and she complied to return back at the next board meeting a report regarding this individual and as it relates to the SOP and onboarding?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for that clarification. And just going forward, those are always, to the board, those are always the three options that this board has available to it. And the chair doesn't, really quite honestly, doesn't have a position either way. Any other discussion? Seeing none, now we will accept and we will move on to the Education Services Report. Ms. Duke?
In front of you, you have two different forms. One's the educational report, the second one is facility programming. Educational report has got the fall break information, and just that the young folks are still getting opportunity throughout the day to work with Penn Foster, their English, math, history, and science. And that because we do have some young folks that are detained that are eligible for special education services, that we still have the gentleman from the Board of Education coming to take care of that. And programming is going to be our chaplain, our volunteers, as well as some internal staff who work with the kids on of all the things you see. We also have, of course, our religious services are documented on here. Of course, those are voluntary. Kids are not required to participate in that. And information regarding computer lab. And I'll answer any questions regarding that you may have.
Judge Daniel.
You made reference earlier that you had two educational assistants who had turned in their notices. Will that affect their ability to have these programs being available to the participants?
No, the educational assistants, first of all, are cross-trained, so they're not like when prior to us getting educational assistants at the facility, my good memories of educational assistants were from my son's elementary school, and those women did everything. Our educational assistants wear their EA hat as well as a detention officer hat.
Oh, I see.
So that these, we had one that was a gentleman and one that was a lady. They're trained in all the ways that our detention officers are trained. They are just sort of part-time and assigned to be an educational assistant. It allows us to do those small groups that are so vital to us getting everybody all of their hours. A lot of what they're doing is going to be on the computer or through a software program that we have. So they're mostly there to keep them on task, to get the computer set up for them, allow us to have adult supervision in this small group area as well as others, because we have young folks from 12 to 18, from low functioning to genius, and they're small grouped as appropriate.
Do those people interact with the student as opposed to just turning on the program, or also telling them or answering questions for them?
Well, they won't answer the questions for them, but they will help them in any way that they are able to do, so that the child still is doing their own work.
Sure, I didn't mean that, but I understand.
So these two individuals have been long-term EAs with us. One is considering moving out of state, and the other had some personal issues that they're not going to be working for just a little bit until things smooth out for them. So they are not leaving for reasons that we're concerned about, and both will be missed desperately. But we will be able to, and we're going to fill, those positions are posted, and HR's got that up on the website, I believe, already, and we're going to fill them. But we have a full-time teacher and our specialist that's still in the building and can still get them going.
Okay.
I'm glad we have EAs because a lot of kids, especially if you're on SPED, you probably struggle academically anyhow. And not everybody we learned during COVID takes to the online. So to have someone extra there to help them when they realize you're struggling, you're not understanding this concept, to help them is invaluable.
We also, it's not on here yet, it's in the works, it's coming. I believe that we are also going to soon be getting a English as a second language person from the Board of Education that's going to be assigned to us to help us with some of those issues as well. So we're, we're gaining a warm body
That will lead me to my next question.
as well.
How many ESL or young people that don't speak any language? Obviously, the county, there's been an influx in the state of Tennessee and the county. Is that, is it a quarter? Less than a quarter percent?
No, I wouldn't, it's not even.
The reason why I
honestly.
ask is there's 1,700 kids that have come since this time last year. They're more. 60% of them are ESL. So that's why you're right to do this, because our numbers are going to increase, because we like to think everybody's going to be well behaved, but
More often than not, it is actually the parents who need help with interpretation during court proceedings. It has been some time since we have had a young person that has needed those services, and I know we have one for sure, maybe two, but this particular person does not have family in state, and has kind of been abandoned, let's call it.
well,
Ms. Duke, I got a question for you regarding ESL. It's common and unfortunate, and certainly not accurate, that ESL primarily is Spanish speaking, but I understand from Dr. Sullivan that the fastest growing demographic for ESL services is Arabic.
yes.
And so, in our community, so my question is not with regard to Hispanic students or Arabic speaking students or any particular student, but Rutherford County, like a number of counties in Middle Tennessee, have multiple languages that are not English as the primary language. Just looking downstream, how would we resolve that multiple need for different languages and not speaking English?
We have, I think the county has done with this with all of the departments, if not most, but I believe it was through Human Resources that we have. I don't know what everybody else.
Talking about the Rutherford County Human Resources?
Yes,
Okay.
I don't know.
Language line.
But
Yeah.
we have the language line, and we also have this.
iPad on a stick.
Yeah, we call it C3PO, but that it's mobile, you can move it around, and so we have a couple
So there
different
are
options.
tools?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Any other questions for Ms. Duke on the education report? Bill?
Ms. Duke, what are your feelings on mentorship?
Outside the facility, or?
Having guest speakers?
Yeah.
Oh, we do that all the time. We had just today, we had a gentleman that is with MTSU, an MTSU graduate, who came and worked with us for some time. He then has a startup business that's fantastic. He's part of a fraternity here in town, and he reached back out and said, hey, me and my fraternity want to come in and
Wow.
do something with the kids. And he didn't even get it all out before I was like, yes, sign him up, we love all of that. But we have several different volunteers that come in and do things like that. Even in every volunteer situation that we have, our volunteer coordinator, who's our Title I specialist, he makes almost mandatory that you can come in and be our barber today, but while you're barbering, I want you to talk about being an entrepreneur and why you, so everybody that comes in and does whatever is their niche in life also has to talk about so that the kids are learning, getting a lesson, and they don't even know it. They're not, the barber comes in and talks about how, he is a business owner, and it didn't matter that he had a criminal history, and that, he's, making good decisions now, and all. And we've had construction workers that have come in and said, I did not know that I was going to be able to do all the fabulous things that I do now, and just because of, making good decisions, and, and this is how I'm being successful in life, and I used to be in a similar situation. Everybody that comes in to volunteer also has to sneak in a life lesson.
All right.
Do you have people that come in and volunteer that will teach them how to read? Because, we're graduating students that could they do not read at 12th grade and barely read at 8th grade. And so you want to, so I'm wondering, can someone come in there and help them with homework, or do homework assistance, or anything like that with them? Versus
we don't have this anymore, but one of my favorite examples of what we have done with that is we had a gentleman who came in and had a little dog that the kids who were agreeable, because not everybody's an animal person, but they could read to that dog all day, and he would sit and he would love on them, and they could, if they stumbled on words, he didn't care. So yes, we do that. We love that. We need more of it. We were getting in a really good volunteer place where we had all these options, and then COVID hit, and then everybody disappeared, and we haven't got back up to that same spot that we once were, but I think we're headed in that direction.
I may have a literacy person for you.
Okay.
That's a good idea. And we have guest speakers from all over the nation, so and I always invite you guys, but I never really thought about sending them over to you.
Oh yeah.
So we may do that.
Yeah.
Saying I've got a guy that would be perfect. Good redemption story.
By the way, I used to chair and was involved for several years with Read to Succeed. And they have a number of people that are volunteers. That would be a good place to coordinate. And they also do English as second language, so several different aspects of that.
We have a lot of folks that when they come in, or they're approached, or they're recommended by somebody, and they get really excited and they want to come, and then when it's actually time for them to do something, their life gets in the way. And so a lot of people want to do, it's just being able to have the time to do.
Have you tried to feed them?
Did my friend ever, I don't think we were able to work it out, but Chris Johnson with Manmaker Academy, he just got named the new football coach at Laverne. And I really wanted to see the problem was not all of our kids would be there for the 8 weeks for the program, because it really is a good mentorship.
Well, we had, at the time, our chaplain had a very similar program that was free, and Chris's came with a price, and that was kind of the kicker on that.
I was hoping that I could get a church to pay that, and but if it's something that we could entertain, I would like to, because I really, if you met his son CJ, they're just an inspiration, and they're motivating. They're just really. They've impacted a lot of young people across the county.
Right.
Any other questions, comments, or pithy quips? Seeing none, we will accept the education report without objection. We now come to item 7, which was requested a couple of months ago by Dr. McDonald. And this is, you have in front of you a budget, and we're going to do a budget review, but I am going to let Dr. McDonald get us started, since this was his request. Dr. McDonald,
You didn't know I was going to call on you. Surprise, surprise.
Well, I was never a Boy Scout, but I was always prepared.
Excellent. So you requested a review of the budget.
Yes, sir.
Why don't you kind of lead us to where you want us to go, and I'm sure it'll spur a lot of conversation, discussion, and who knows where we'll end up. The floor is yours, sir.
Well, I think that my main objective here was, I mean, again, a part of our oversight is just a budget was approved.
And by the way, your timing was pretty good, although I think somewhat coincidental to the arrival of our new member, Mr. Rick Hall. So we're reviewing, he hadn't had a chance to do it, or maybe he has, but now he gets to do it in a more formal way, so
Right.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. And so I think this, having it at least pushed back a month, the goal was to give everybody an opportunity to get eyes on it and kind of go through it, and if they have any questions and concerns. And, you know, I know we approved this, or at least submitted it to commission and to your office for approval, and it was done. But for me, that was like, seemed like light years ago. And so the only...
It's almost time to do it again.
Exactly. That was kind of my concern. I think, you know, probably getting ready for FY 25, 26 here. But,
If I could interrupt, just talking about the budget, if I could, Dr. McDonald. So as part of the process of monitoring the budget, when Lynn's staff submit a purchase requisition, obviously that's going to affect line item 399 or 499 or something like that. The staff, especially Carla, gives us a constant running total as to how much is left in that account, what is our run rate on that account as a percentage of the year. So if we're spending heavy in the front end of the year, I can pick up the phone and call in, and I haven't had to do this. They're fairly good about it, saying, hey, your run rate on this particular account is going to mean you're going to run out of money on this run rate by April or May or something like that. So we constantly communicate with each other to make sure that we don't run out of money. So just as an FYI from a management perspective,
Right.
we do that with every department, and hers is no different.
and my primary concern related to the line item dealing with the end of life, which we talked about almost 8 months ago, related to the information systems. And so once that issue came up in my mind, I said, well, I just thought it made common sense for us just to look at the entire budget, not go through it line item by line item in terms of operating budget, but it gives us a chance as a board to look at the budget, and any questions are presented, they can be presented. So my main concern focus is regarding the information systems.
Well, just so happened that on the 23rd of October, we finally got the situation that you're talking about. We had a analog, long story short, or short story long, one of our security processes in the facility is time for an upgrade. It was analog, and if you'll recall, the Correctional Work Center and JDC are kind of on the same property. The CWC was built first, and they were able to get in and going a little bit before us. So we're about 6 months to a year behind them on when items start failing or need to be updated. And I believe that at some point in time, CWC had already upgraded their audio system, their intercoms, or changed them or whatever, and it was time for us to do so. The technology was such that, as I understand it, some of the internal mechanisms, whatever the correct word is, you couldn't even purchase them anymore. So we put in our budget, asked for and received money to work with the company for this upgrade. There were some contractual back and forth, updating the contract, make sure they had the information in there just the way they wanted it. County attorney and county OIT just recently all signed off on it, and we now have, that, project has been signed off by the mayor, and they are, in the process of getting us going.
Yay.
Yeah.
Is that line item 709?
That would be,
Data processing equipment?
it is, yes,
Well, that's the largest one.
709.
So it's already been bought and paid for, and that item in the budget's zeroed out?
No, not yet. The 178,000 and some change was put into that line item. It was requested by me. The mayor and county commission agreed that it should stay in the budget, so it was there to be spent.
Okay.
Now, the way that that process works in the county is, especially when it's, Office of Information Technology type requests, they get in on it and make sure that all is well. So that money's still sitting there. We have the quote, and now that we have the signed contract, generally, I'm not gonna promise, but usually there's an initial payment and then a final payment when the work is done.
I see.
So that has not been spent at all yet.
It's been encumbered but not spent,
I see. All right, I understand.
which is as good as spent.
I understand.
It's gone away.
So what we can do, and this, if there's no objection, we can always put Dr. McDonald, because you bring up a good point, maybe you didn't even realize it, as a matter of fact. The budget can absolutely be a part of the agenda going forward. So if there's any point in time, if the committee will keep this, at any point in time there's a question about the budget, we can certainly bring it up at any meeting, at any time, and we can make that a part of the agenda going forward. And if there's no questions about the budget and where we're at in this particular budget cycle, then we can move on to the next item. But I'm sitting here thinking we'll certainly do that.
Okay.
But
Does that help? Does that help? I mean, just to keep up with what's going on.
Sure,
expenditures.
I mean, just maybe something, on a periodic basis, maybe not every month, but maybe quarterly, every 6 months or something like that. I don't want to work well with staff.
I will say that I went ahead and highlighted line item 399, and that information is a little old. It's back from September. But that is our food contract and our mental health services, because they're outside contracted. If we have, besides our overtime, which we deal with later in the year, but if we have a line item that we may have to move some money from within our budget, it's going to potentially be that line item, because we have had a slightly higher population than we once did. And as y'all know, the majority of the young folks have very serious charges, and so they are seeing, as they should, the mental health folks on a regular basis. So if I have a line item that I'm going to run short and may have to move inside our budget money around, I suspect it'll be $399.
And just for in case you don't know, if Lynn or her staff does need to do a budget amendment, which is that internal movement of money from one account to another account to supplement that account, she typically goes to Michael to determine what account does she have access to based on projected expenditures. They fill out the paperwork up in finance. That comes down to my office. It signs. Then it goes to the appropriate standing committee, which is public safety, and then on to the budget committee. So there's a process there, but at no point should you not be able to ask, why did we run out, or what was the purpose, why are we overspending, what happens to the account that we're taking money from, are we going to run short there? Those are all very appropriate questions for this board to ask.
Thank you.
And that's separate from Dr. Rudd's line, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
But even in
medical-
that 399, I mean, you're one crisis away from, at any time, going over.
Well, but it's just the taxpayers' dime, and we want to be
Right,
respectful and
but what I'm saying
responsible.
is you're one, I mean, it's literally one crisis away with one of one of the younger ones that
Right.
could send that over. So it has to be understood and accepted that that line, it can fluctuate.
Yes, yes. Yeah, Dr. Rudd comes out of 340. And his, frankly, his numbers are, his contract is based on population as well. We have a lot of our line items in our contracts that are population based, and those are 2 of them.
Any other questions for Ms. Duke on budget? Seeing none, we'll go to item 8, which is the 2025 JDC board calendar. There's only one date, that is October's meeting. We always meet on the second Monday of the month. It appears that there's only one meeting that conflicts with the holiday, and that is in October. That's October 13th. What we will do is probably in August, we'll make a date change, unless the board just wants to do it now. We can wait till we get a little closer so that my office can send out the necessary notice of change with regard to the date. Any questions or comments about the 2025 calendar? Lynn?
I don't think the county is off
Yeah.
on Columbus
No,
Day.
that's
It's
what I
a
said.
Well, I didn't think so,
Federal
but it's highlighted here, so I wondered.
Well, the highlights are just me helping
The day
you
of the
see that it's the second Monday.
No, it's highlighted
Yeah.
in red.
Well,
It's highlighted in red.
Oh, I have a-
And
I have a
red-
black-
and
I have
red
a-
dates are state
Holidays.
holidays. so-
You're special. We have black and white.
yes, ours is not highlighted in red. Right, I know, right?
But I don't want to be special. Yeah, October 13th is Columbus Day on this calendar, so I was just reading from this calendar. So, well, I will find out. Let me just say this. Let me back up. And we just don't everybody get excited. It's only October.
It's a federal, but I don't
We
think
will
it's a
find
county
out.
holiday though.
We will find out if that is a state and county holiday. And just for the record, the county follows by statute the state holiday calendar by statute. So as a public, as a public subdivision of the state, we don't get an opportunity to change that calendar. That is not a holiday, hush. Don't start nothing. Anyway, we will, if there's no objection when we get closer to October, I think we can
Right.
satisfy your concerns, Dr. Herron, about the 13th.
I mean, no.
Mine too, for that matter. I was just reading what I was
I
told.
just said red, I don't see red, but anyway.
I didn't know you had black, I thought everybody had a colored version, so.
You know, you're the special one.
Please don't.
I did highlight the month of August because I believe, and I'm going to double check and bring this back next month, I believe that all of the board members' seats might be up for a reapplication in August of 2025. But I will know more next month.
Please do, because it was my clear understanding that this board was staggered, so.
Well, there has been
Mine's up
small
in August.
confusion, so I'm gonna get some clarification.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, Dr. McDonald and I just got, we just re-upped,
I know
so
I
we were
have
back in
1
August.
year. Mine was 2 years.
Yes, so I don't know, my original one was 2 years, but I just assumed it was 2, but it may just be 1 year now, I don't know.
But everybody isn't the month of August. I don't know about the year.
Well, the chair should know this, and the chair does not, so the chair apologizes for not knowing. I just thought they were, staggered. I thought they were staggered. So, we'll get that cleared up.
Okay.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Claire. Any other questions on the calendar and the reappointment?
There is a
Yes, Dr. Herron.
state and federal holiday in August, the 31st. Just saying, I won't be here, but anyway,
You just can't have yourself, can you?
it's in red.
It is
not
in red.
It's in red.
All right, we're gonna move on to the calendar before the chair gets in any more trouble. We'll accept, and then we've got, do we have any other business? Well, let me congratulate Mr. Hall for joining us. I think this is the first time in my short tenure as both mayor and chairing of various boards and meetings that I've had a first-time member we also celebrate his birthday today. So this is the first, so we're all happy birthday to you. So you, how old are you, Mr. Hall?
Old enough.
Amen.
Well said.
Happy birthday.
Amen. Very well said. Well, happy birthday to you.
Thank you, Mayor.
And welcome aboard. We're glad you're here, and we look forward to your contributions very, very much.
Thanks, sir.
Any other business before the committee?
Lynn, are we planning on doing anything special for Thanksgiving? I
Um,
mean, I know what's on the menu.
Right, we have a volunteer group who is going to be doing some pizza
Good, good.
right now, and then we have a couple things that are potentially happening in December. What we have to do is make sure that we don't have any allergy issues, so that if we, just as an example, if we had somebody that was lactose intolerant, we either have to get them a special pizza or we have to do something comparable so that everybody has special.
No peanut butter pies.
Yeah, no bologna sandwiches.
So they don't get a Thanksgiving meal?
Oh, they do. They
Oh,
get
okay.
a fabulous meal from,
Okay.
you know, the summit. They get their turkey and dressing,
Okay.
but generally, you know, the kids want what the kids want.
Oh, the
so,
pizza.
Yeah.
And if there's any way that we can help with that too, we should let us know too.
Okay.
Can I bring in a tray of cookies?
You can bring in a tray of store-bought cookies.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Oh, no, yeah. Yeah.
Not that I have any particular
I wouldn't
issues
need
with
one,
you. That's just
I
the
don't know,
policy.
no.
Yeah, we had
Oh,
some
no,
issues.
we may have had issues in the past.
I always do
That's great.
Oh, no, no.
All right, without objection, we're adjourned. On cookies.
Cookies,